You're listening to School Leadership Reimagined, episode number 56.
Welcome to the School Leadership Reimagined podcast, where we rethink what's possible to transform your school. If you're tired of settling for small wins and incremental improvement, then stay tuned to discover powerful and practical strategies for getting every teacher in your school moving towards excellence. Now, here's your host, Robyn Jackson.
Hey builders, welcome to another episode of the School Leadership Reimagined podcast. I'm your host, Robyn Jackson, and today is another makeover show. This time, we're making over your vision and your mission. Now, the reason I'm doing vision and mission together is because the two are so intricately connected. In fact, it's really hard to create a vision separately from a mission. The conversations have to happen in concert. And that's because your vision explains, what are we building as a community? What is this thing that we're building? And your mission explains why that's so important. So they're connected. In fact, I often teach people that your vision and mission statement could really be created into one long sentence. And the way you would do that is you would take your vision statement and then connect it to your mission statement with the word because. So if your vision and mission cannot create one sentence with the word because in between them, then they're probably not serving you as well as they should be serving you, and you want to reevaluate them. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take some vision and mission statements and we're going to make them over. And I'm also going to show you some of the most common mistakes I see when people are writing vision and mission statements and why those mistakes can really harm your efforts to build the kind of school that you're trying to build. And then I'm going to show you some examples and then we're going to make them over live right here so you can see how we can take a lackluster vision statement or a mission statement that's too broad and we can turn it into something that is so inspiring that you will not believe the difference and you won't be able to wait to get out there and start doing the work to realize that vision and do work that's on mission for your school. Now, this is the kind of makeover that we normally do at Builders Lab. So when you come to Builders Lab, you bring your vision and your mission statement to Builders Lab. And on day one, we make it over. We work hard to take that vision and mission statement and turn it into something that's really going to be inspiring for you. And then we spend the rest of our time at Builders Lab mapping out exactly how you can realize that vision. So on day one, in the morning, before lunch, you walk out with a vision statement that you are excited about. And it's one of my favorite parts about Builders Lab because people come and they say, well, I have a vision and here it is, but they're not excited about it. And even when they're trying to make it over, a lot of times people will try to create a vision that, fits the criteria, but they're not excited about it. And we do not stop at Builders Lab until you have built something that you are excited about, that inspires you. So on day one, people come and even if they thought they were really passionate about their school, they have even more passion for their work and their school before lunch. And then after lunch, we start doing the work of saying, okay, if this is the thing that we want to build, if this is why this is so important, then how do we do it? And that's really the magic of Builders Lab because a lot of people have great visions already. They have a passion for what they want to build and they've been trying all these different strategies. I mean, maybe you could relate to this, where you've just been trying this and trying that. And it feels a lot like you're throwing spaghetti against the wall every year, a new program. Halfway through the year, you're making a new policy and you feel like you're just kind of papering yourself in with a new policy here and a new policy there. And your staff is feeling overwhelmed. And you're pushing and pushing and pushing and you're frustrated because people aren't moving as quickly as you want them to move. And you know that if you could just get people moving in the right direction, you could realize this goal and your school could be so much better. Well, if you're feeling that way, come to Builders Lab because we will show you at Builders Lab exactly how to accomplish it. I mean, a lot of times it's not just that people don't have a great vision for their school. A lot of people already do. Maybe you're one of those people. Maybe you're thinking, well, I already have a good vision. I've been listening to the podcast for a while. I've rewritten my vision. I'm excited about it. But the challenge now is, how do you get everybody else excited about it? How do you create a pathway to success where you can see success this school year, not next school year, not, well, I'll wait until the summer and maybe next year I'll write a SIP plan that will be better. No, right now, this school year. And if that's you, then I want to invite you to Builders Lab. Our next Builders Lab is coming up January 21 through 23 here in Washington, D.C. And I am telling you, January is a great time to come to Builders Lab because you get the double benefit. You come to Builders Lab and you will create things that will create success this school year. Plus, you will learn what you need to be doing now that will set yourself up for success next school year. So you get the double benefit. That's one of the reasons why I love Builders Lab in January, because what you do at Builders Lab is not only going to impact this school year, but it's also going to impact next school year. So you get the double benefit. Anyway, if you want tickets to Builders Lab, and I really hope you come to the one in January, this one's going to be a smaller Builders Lab, a lot more intimate. So I'll have a lot more time to work with you personally to make sure that when you leave Builders Lab, you have everything you need to be successful this school year and to set yourself up for success next school year. Then all you need to do is go to mindstepsinc.com/builders-lab. That's mindstepsinc.com/builders-lab. And you can get your tickets. And here's something else. When you come to Builders Lab, it's not just 3 days of intense work and then you go back and we leave you to figure things out on your own. No. When you come to Builders Lab, we follow up with you for the next 90 days to make sure that you stay on track, to send you additional resources, to make sure that you get the support that you need. And we check in with you. And what's happening now is that we have just completed a Builders Lab in October, and I am already starting to see the success stories pouring in from the folks who came to Builders Lab in October, and I'm still in touch with them. So they have my continued support even as we're speaking now. So think about this. If you come to Builders Lab in January, by the time your school gets out for spring break, you've already started to achieve traction. You've already started seeing success. I mean, imagine that this school year. So again, mindstepsinc.com/builders-lab to get your tickets. All right, let's go ahead and make over some visions and mission statements. And we're going to start with two of the big mistakes that I see with both vision and mission statements. They're probably the two most fatal mistakes. In fact, if you commit these mistakes, it almost renders your vision and mission statement impotent. So I want to talk about these two mistakes to make sure that you're not committing these mistakes. And if you are, to show you how you can overcome these mistakes really quickly and make your vision and mission statement something that is actually going to drive the work of your school. All right. The first mistake I see a lot of people making with both their vision statement and their mission statement is they create something that is too broad. It's too big. It's too vast. So the broader your mission and vision are, the more meaningless it becomes, because you're using words that could mean a whole bunch of different things or that are open to interpretation. What you want is you want to create a vision and a mission statement that is laser focused. You want to create a vision and mission statement that has so much clarity that they're unambiguous. People can't lob on their own interpretation on your vision or on your mission. It is so clear that everybody knows exactly what you're building and why it's important. The second mistake that I see people making is that they create visions and missions that are meh. They're uninspiring. They're just kind of blah. And a lot of times people make this mistake because I think that they're trying to kind of conform to the format of a vision and mission statement, but they really haven't dug deep down inside to think about what I'm passionate about, what would get me out of bed in the morning, what would make me want to come to work every single day and put in the effort. If your vision and mission are not inspiring to you, what makes you think that they're going to be inspiring to anybody else? So we have to make sure that we create something that we are inspired about, that we are, I ended a sentence in a preposition. Oh, I hate that. We have to create something about which we are inspired. That better? I feel better. I don't know about you, but I feel better. So anyway, let's go and tackle some vision statements first. And you're going to see how these original versions sound nice. They, like if you put it on a wall, everybody would be like, oh, that's a nice vision statement, but it would stay on the wall. It would not actually be alive in your school. So here's the first one. This is a vision I was working with someone on recently, and he was generous enough to let me share it with you. And here it is. It's to be a center for education and empowerment in the community. So first of all, there are two things wrong with this vision statement. First of all, it's more of a mission statement than a vision statement because it explains kind of why. But he had a mission statement that he was really passionate about too. And so he didn't want to kind of move this to make this the mission statement. He really felt like his vision was that his school was going to be the center. But here's the challenge with this, the second challenge, which is even more important. To be a center for education and empowerment in the community, that's not a vision. You already are. You're a center. You're a school. You're one of several different centers for education and empowerment in the community. It's a vision that you created that, you've already kind of achieved. And so the more we talked, he was saying, so what do you mean by being a center? He says, well, if we were to leave the community right now, because he wasn't a public school, he was a parochial school. He said, if we were to leave the community right now, I'd want the community to be mad. And I was like, okay, so why do you want the community to be mad? He said, because I want to make such an impact in the community that we would be missed if we weren't there anymore. And so I said, oh, okay, so you don't want to be a center for education and empowerment. You want to be the center for education and empowerment. Now, notice the difference. A center, how do I test that? How do I know whether or not I've achieved that vision? I don't really have a way of testing it. In fact, I've already achieved that vision just by being in the community. I'm a center. I'm one of several options that people have. But when I say I want to be the center, now I can test it. I can do a poll in the community and say, when you think of the place you go for education and empowerment, what is the first organization in your community that you think of? And if people aren't saying your school, then you haven't reached your vision yet. Keep working. Once you stay, just changing that one word from a center to the center gives you a vision that is so unambiguous that now you have a goal that you are striving for every single day in your school. And at first he was kind of nervous about that. He's like, well, we're a parochial school and there are other schools in the neighborhood. There are public schools. There's, there may be a charter school there in a few years. I just don't know if I can compete with those schools. And I said, well, that's why the vision statement is so important. It's not that you want to compete with them. You want to be the center. When you described to me that you wanted to be missed when you were gone, well, they're not going to miss you if you're one of several different options. They're only going to miss you if you are the best option. Do you believe that your school, that the kind of education that your school offers is far superior to any other option in the community? And he said, yes. And then I said, well, if that's your belief, then why not make your belief real in your vision? Well, he thought about it for a while and then he said, okay, I'll do it. And then the moment he said, okay, I'll do it, everything changed. His whole focus changed. His imperative for what he needed to do as a builder of this school changed. It shifted. It stopped being this kind of, well, we want to be someplace else where people can go. We want to be an alternative to we want to be the best alternative. Notice the difference. When he left that conversation, he was a little nervous, but he was a lot excited because now that vision drives his work. He doesn't stop until he achieves that vision for his organization. And I want to challenge you to do the same thing. A lot of times people will write vision statements that are kind of broad or that leave them so much wiggle room because they are scared to commit to something bigger. And setting a vision is supposed to be a little scary. I mean, if your vision doesn't scare you a little bit, then I would argue that it's not big enough. Your vision should be pulling you and your entire organization forward. It should be giving you your marching orders. And if you make a vision that's too broad or too ambiguous or too blah, then it's not going to drive the work. It's not going to get you out of bed every morning. It's not going to make you excited. He left that conversation saying, we want to be the center. And it changed the focus of his work. So instead of providing a comparable education for students, he's now going to look and focus on providing a superior education for students. Instead of doing community events where he kind of hopes that, the community gets involved, he's going to be doing community events that communicate to the community that this is the best option for students in that neighborhood. Notice the difference. At Builders Lab, one of the ways that I know that a group or a person has come up with a vision that's the right vision for them is because the moment they say it aloud, they start thinking about, oh, we can do this, and then we can do that, and we can do this, and we can do that. They're so excited about that vision that it immediately sparks all these ideas about what they can do in their school now that they have that vision. That's when I know we've gotten it. And I will work with you and push you until you get to that point because it's that important. If you are not inspired by your vision, if your vision doesn't launch immediate ideas for what you can do to your school, then what good is it? And if you're not inspired by your vision, why would anybody else be inspired by it? It's your vision. So if you've got to be the one that's inspired by it, that's your litmus test. If it doesn't even inspire you, it's not going to inspire anybody else. Which leads me to my second mistake, which is that a lot of people create vision statements that are kind of uninspiring. And let me give you an example of a vision statement that's a little uninspiring, even though it sounds good on the surface. A lot of schools will come up with a vision that says, all right, we want every student to achieve a year's worth of growth for a year's worth of school. Doesn't that sound good? A year's worth of growth for a year's worth of school. We've been hearing that for years. Here's why I argue that that's uninspiring. If every child achieves a year's worth of growth for a year's worth of school, what about the kid who is 2 years behind or 3 years behind? So that kid, you're planning for that kid to always be behind. A year's worth of growth for a year's worth of school only works if every single student is already at grade level. It doesn't work if you have kids who are below grade level. And in most cases, the schools who create that as a vision for their school are schools that are not getting a year's worth of growth for a year's worth of school. And so kids are already behind. It's not a vision. That's kind of a baseline for what everybody should be doing, but it's not a vision that's calling us to something greater. And it doesn't serve all your kids equally. It only serves the kids who are already at grade level. So I get why people want to do this. They're saying we're not even getting a year's worth of growth in most cases, so we need to get there first. That's not a vision. That's a milestone. A vision is greater than that. A lot of people will default to that one because they are so afraid to commit to 100% of our kids will be at proficiency. They just can't even imagine that could ever happen for their kids. And you know what? They're kind of right because it can't happen in the current school organization that they have. The organization they have is producing the results it was designed to produce. If you really want to get to 100% proficiency, you're going to have to make some significant changes in the way that you provide an education for students. So when people are creating visions that are uninspiring, they are creating visions based on what they think they are capable of doing with their current school. They don't realize that one of the beautiful parts about setting a vision is that when you set a vision for what you want to do for students, it automatically drives change in your school. For instance, if you say, we want all of our students, 100% of our students, to be at proficient or above each grade level. And then the next thing you're saying is, we'll never get there. We're only at 35% proficiency right now. How will we ever get there? Well, you're going to have to do some things differently. So the next question is, what would our school have to look like in order for that vision to be true? And that's where the magic happens. Because once you start envisioning what that school would look like, and you start implementing those changes in your school, you don't get 1%, 2%, 5% gains every single year. You start looking at 20%, 30% gains every single year. By the time you're done, you have a transformed organization. You see, a lot of people, when they set a low vision, then they try to tweak their way to change. I'm in schools all the time where they're working hard to make a 5 or 10% gain in proficiency over the course of the next 3 years. Or they start doing these crazy policies where, okay, every single class is going to start a certain way and every single class is going to end a certain way. And they actually start leeching away at teachers' freedom. Teachers start feeling overwhelmed. They start creating all kinds of weird rules for their school for how instruction has to be. When you do that, all you're doing is you're trying to take the current organization, the one that's already not producing results, and you're trying to tweak it to make it produce, squeeze it a little bit more so you can squeeze out just a few more gains in that current organization. When you create a vision that is inspiring, you stop thinking about the current organization and you start thinking about, okay, what do we need to build to make that possible? So instead of squeezing the current organization, instead of wearing out your teachers even more, instead of overwhelming everybody and making everybody feel like you're just running on this hamster wheel of change and improvement, instead, everybody's inspired because you're saying, you know what? This isn't working. 35% proficiency is not working for anybody. We need to do better. And so you start building something that can produce bigger gains than you've ever imagined. So if you are not inspired by your vision, if your vision doesn't start immediately sparking ideas about what you could be doing differently, how you could build a school differently, then it's not the right vision. It's not serving you. Your vision should be inspiring, and it should be inspiring to you. A lot of people will try to write a vision that they think will inspire other people. What is that? I don't even understand that. If you are not inspired by your vision, if your vision doesn't get you up in the morning, every morning and get you excited about going to work, if your vision doesn't start making your work meaningful, then who cares if you inspire anybody else? And quite frankly, you probably won't. If you're not inspired by your vision, you're not going to inspire anybody else by that vision. People will see through the hypocrisy. So remember, your vision is yours. You have to be inspired by it. And if it's not inspiring to you, you haven't found the right vision yet. Now, here's a vision that is both too broad and uninspiring. It's something that I read recently, and I want to share it with you because it sounds good, but let me tell you what trouble it's going to create. So here's a vision. Every student will achieve personal success and become a responsible and productive citizen. Now, on the surface, it ticks all the boxes, right? It talks about every kid. It talks about their academic and their social emotional growth. It sounds great. Here's the problem. What do we mean by personal success? And when I talked to this group and said, what do you mean by personal success? They said, well, we don't want to set 100% proficiency because not all of our students will achieve proficiency. We have kids who have some profound, disabilities and they're never going to be proficient. And so we want to make sure that it's their personal goal, that they're hitting their own personal potential. Okay. All right. And then I said, well, what do you mean by a responsible, productive citizen? And here's where they floundered. They could not define responsible or productive. They had no idea. And we worked at this for a long time, and they were just really scared to set a proficiency goal because they just did not believe that all of their kids were going to reach proficiency. And before you start blaming them, it wasn't that they didn't believe in their students, but they felt like proficiency was too small of a goal, that it wasn't just about academic proficiency. It wasn't just we're not just producing kids who can pass a test. We want to make sure that the kids are setting ambitious goals for themselves and they're achieving those ambitious goals for themselves. And in the process, they're really learning how to, manage themselves and how to delay short-term gratification in service to a long-term goal. They really wanted their students to kind of take more responsibility for their learning. And they could speak so passionately about it when we were discussing it, but that passion was not coming across in this vision statement. So we massaged it for a long time, and then we came up with this. Every student will set and achieve ambitious academic and social emotional goals each year. And then they created a whole goal-setting process for students, and they created a goal monitoring process. They switched from teacher-led conferences to parent-led conferences where the students laid out their academic goals each semester and talked to their families about what their goals were, what work they were doing to achieve their goals, and then how well they had accomplished their goals. They created a whole program for kids to understand the standards and to personalize the standards. By the time they were done, they had a drastically different school, but they were so excited about it. They were so these people walked out of there and they had designed a new school, and they are implementing this now. They are transforming their school into a place where they love coming to work every day. And guess what? It's also a place where the kids love coming to learn. They've empowered their students in ways that they never imagined because they created a vision that actually spoke to their passion and that gave them a very specific imperative about how they needed to serve their students. That's the power of a strong vision. Now, I want to shift to mission statements because mission statements also make the same mistake as the vision statements. Some of them are too broad and some of them are really uninspiring. So let me give you an example of a mission statement. And now that you know the difference between too broad and uninspiring, or whether or not it's both, I'm going to see if you can guess which sin this mission statement has committed. Here's the mission statement. To provide a high quality, comprehensive, meaningful education for all students. Okay, which one is it? Is it uninspiring? Is it too broad? Is it both? Well, I would argue that it's probably both. It's uninspiring because I have no idea what a comprehensive, meaningful education is. And that's part of the problem. I don't know what that means. Everybody could layer on top of that their own interpretation of what that means. And that's when the arguments start. Because when you start talking to teachers about their work and saying, this is not on mission, this is on mission, teachers can argue with you because you've given them such a vague mission statement. So, one teacher's interpretation of comprehensive is different than another teacher's. One teacher's interpretation of meaningful is different than another teacher. And because it's so broad, it's also kind of uninspiring. Like, your mission statement gives everybody their marching orders. It's why we're doing this work. And so when you say, hey, here's a new policy, and the reason this policy is going to happen is because we want to provide a comprehensive and meaningful education for all students, nobody's going to charge the gate for that. Nobody's going to be like, yes, let's do it. It's both. So how do we fix it? Well, we need to have a conversation about what a high quality, comprehensive, meaningful education is. And as you start having that conversation, people's ideas will really come forward. So this is also kind of a camel in the sense that they were having conversations and people were saying, oh, we want this, we want that, we want the other. And it's like, oh yeah, that means high quality. Oh, we really, when people would speak passionately about what they wanted to do for students, they tried to group people's answers into a category. Oh, that counts as meaningful. That doesn't work. You need to kind of be clear about why this is important. So they simplified it a lot. And they said, basically, what we want to do is we want to provide students with an education that empowers them to do whatever they want to do in life. That's what we want to do. We want the education that the students get here to be a launching pad for helping them to pursue their dreams, whatever their dreams are. We want to help foster students' real dreams and to make those dreams happen for students. And so that became their mission, that we want to be a launching pad for students' dreams for their futures. Now, I know that sounds, airy-fairy to some people, but for this school, they started to understand things. Once they had, that's our mission. Oh my goodness, the work changed. They started saying, okay, well, we need to first, how do we know what students' dreams actually are? So the first thing they did was they had some time where they spent time with kids and they said, what are your dreams? What do you want to do when you leave this high school? And the kids were starting to say things like, oh, I want to be an NFL player, or, I want to be a beauty influencer, or I want to own my own business, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to travel the world. And instead of kind of poo-pooing their dreams and saying, well, not everybody's going to be in the NFL. And so what do you need a backup plan. They said, no, our job is to empower students' dreams. So if that's the case, if you want to be an NFL player, let's go figure out what it takes to be an NFL player. And sometimes when the kids would go through the process of trying to figure out what it would take, their dreams would shift, or sometimes their dreams became stronger as a result of it. But they didn't see their jobs as judging students' dreams or trying to tamp down students' dreams. Whatever their dreams were, you want to be a beauty influencer? You need to figure out what does it take to build a YouTube following. And they spent time in class, history class, science class, social studies class, trying to explain to students how this subject would help you with your dreams. The more you understand science, the better a beauty influencer you're going to be, because you can look at harmful ingredients in some of the products, or you can tell by looking at the ingredients of certain products that this product is going to actually do what it says it's going to do. You want to be an NFL player? Well, you're going to need to be able to manage your money. So this is how looking at algebra in this way is going to help you manage your money, or help you determine your training regimen, or whatever. So they found ways to connect their subject areas to students' dreams. All of a sudden, class became more relevant. Students started reporting how much more engaged they were in class, just by shifting from something boring like a high-quality, comprehensive, meaningful education for all students to actually making education meaningful by tying it to students' dreams, by seeing their work as we exist to foster and grow students' dreams. Change how they taught, change the kind of program that they were building, change their approach to their work. Sure, they were still teaching the same subjects, but now they were teaching them with students' dreams in mind, and it changed everything in the school. See, notice how when you have a mission and everybody's clear about that mission, it helps people make decisions about what they're going to do every day in class. It helps people kind of dream about what kind of program they could be building for kids, because they know why they're building it. And it got everybody focused on the right thing, doing the right work the right way, and it transformed the school. Okay, here's another mission statement. Tell me what you think. We exist to build lifelong learners. Now, I love the phrase lifelong learners. Whenever I ask people, what is a lifelong learner? I get a different answer every single time. That's assuming that people can even come up with a coherent definition for lifelong learning in the first place. It's one of those words we use in education a lot, but I'm not sure we all know what it means. And so this one is too broad. I think people can be inspired by, we really want our kids to be lifelong learners, but their inspiration is very personal. It doesn't come from the mission statement. It comes from their personal interpretation of the term lifelong learner. So this one's too broad. So when I talked with this group about, what do you mean by lifelong learners? Their answer was, well, we really want our kids to be able to take the education they get here and to be able to use it for the rest of their lives. And so I said, well, the world's going to be changing a lot. So how will they be able to use this when things are changing so rapidly? They said, well, we want them to not only kind of learn the facts, we want them to learn how to learn. We want them to continually learn and grow so that they can adapt to a changing world. So why not make that your mission? If that's what you mean, make that your mission. So here's what they came up with. We exist to equip our students with the tools they need to successfully adapt to a rapidly changing world. Okay, so now that's going to change everything about what happens in the classroom. You can't just teach kids one way to do something. You've got to show them multiple ways to do something. You can't just teach kids one way to learn. You have to show them multiple ways of learning. You can't just reward kids for knowing the facts. You have to show them how to adapt those facts to new and novel situations. Once that became the mission, the whole focus of the work in that school shifted, because it wasn't good enough for kids to be proficient. Now the kids had to not only hit proficiency, but they also had to do it in a way that showed that they were able to adapt. What that also meant was that the teachers had to be adaptive as well. They had to shift their teaching style. They couldn't just teach one way. They had to adapt their teaching style for the different needs of the kids in the classroom. Do you see the difference now? Do you see how when your mission statement is clear and when it is inspiring, it changes everybody's focus on how they do the work? The why becomes very clear. So as I'm making decisions throughout the day, I have a true north that I'm shooting for. That's my vision. And I have the reason why I'm shooting for that true north, which helps kind of corral the work that I'm doing and give it focus and meaning and purpose every single day. So what I want to do now is I want to challenge you. Take a look at your vision statement. Take a look at your mission statement. Are they focused? Are they clear? Are they inspiring? Do you get excited just by reading them? And if the answer is no, then maybe your vision and your mission statement need a makeover. And hopefully you've learned some things on today's episode so that you can now go back and make over your vision and mission like a builder. And if you want some help transforming your vision and mission statements or your core values for that matter, then I want to invite you again to come to Builders Lab. We have our next Builders Lab coming up January 21 through 23 right here in Washington, D.C. And you can get your tickets at mindstepsinc.com/builders-lab. Or you can call us here at the office if you have any trouble at 1-888-565-8881. And if you're listening to this sometime in the future, that number and that website will still work. You can go on there and check out when the next Builders Lab is happening and join us for Builders Lab. All right, let's talk about next time. Next time, I'm going to talk about something that I have been seeing a lot lately. It's a huge problem that nobody talks about. And so I want to talk about it next time. So next time we're going to have a chat to talk about the number one thing you need to protect as a builder. We'll find out more about that next time. I hope you'll join me then.
Thank you for listening to the School Leadership Reimagined podcast. For show notes and free downloads, visit schoolleadershipreimagined.com. School Leadership Reimagined is brought to you by Mindsteps, Inc., where we build master teachers.